Welcome to our gem, the Readfield Union Meeting House. I'm Jim Tukey. I'm president, or I'd rather be called chairman of the board of the meeting house. And this is Nancy.
Hi, I'm Nancy Durgan. I want to welcome you to the Readfield Union Meeting House. We have an extraordinary building here, which is just waiting for people to come and view.
In 1828, when the meeting house was formed and opened, it was basically Methodist and Baptist. But then the Unitarians started coming into town and federated into one building to save costs and heating and so forth.
It was a community effort using a lot of community materials, including all of the bricks on the outside. They were made about 1.5 miles from here.
The congregation started to peter out, and so in 1952, reincorporated as a historical entity. In the 1850s, of course, the German Revolution, a lot of Germans came to this country for a new life. One of them was Charles Schumacher, came from Prussia, settled in Portland with his brother and married family, and became a decorator, artist. He became quite famous. He did courthouses, public buildings, town offices, grange, opera houses. And of the over 50 buildings that we know he worked on, this is the only one which is totally intact the way he did it. One of the glories of the meeting house are the stenciled glass windows. And they're not stained glass, they're stenciled. Just as when you were kids, remember you cut stencils and you put down one color, then you cut another stencil and you put down another color. Well, that's what they did with these windows. They cut a silkscreen stencil, painted on the pane of glass, put the pane of glass in a kiln, and baked it. And there's only one other church in Maine that has stenciled glass windows surviving. And they only have, I think, 2 colors. We have, I think, 6 colors or so. The congregation did not have a lot of money after the building was renovated in 1868, so it wasn't changed. The sconces were never electrified. It just remains that proverbial bee in amber.
A lot of work has been done in the last decade to make the building safe, sound, to ensure that the weather doesn't come in.
Our support comes from the community and members and so forth. So it has been a long progress, and we've moved along in measured steps. We're now going to the steeple, which is the big over $500,000 project that we're tackling in the next couple of years.
We have revised the electrical systems, made it safer to come in. We've put an ADA compliant bathroom. So a lot of work has been done to stabilize the structure, get it ready to do some more visible construction. Largely that's going to be replacing the structure of the bell tower, eventually putting a spire, a replacement spire up on the top of that structure, restoring the faces of the clock and bringing it back to the point where it can ring the bell that did ring here for so many years.
I always enjoyed watching my neighbor, Ernest Bracey, who lived up the street, coming down here practically every day to check on the meeting house. And he had such a love for this place and passed it on to me and to the neighborhood. But I remember the bell. The kids loved to come over and ring the bell, and once in a while he would let them do it. But he would ring the bell on Sundays often, and sometimes he would have hymns coming over the loudspeaker through the tower, and that was always a treat.
One night around 1960, there were three of us kids, and we were up in the tower. We'd let ourselves in the back of the church. We rang at 9 o'clock, it struck 9, and we rung it 4 more times, and the gentleman that lived in the house next door came over, and he was yelling at us saying he knew exactly who we were, he was gonna call our parents, and we better get home right now. So we skedaddled out, got back out the window when we came in.
It's available. Not in the winter, summer, spring, fall. The meeting house is here for events. My daughter got married here. I've been to a couple of weddings here. We've had quilt shows and rug shows and concerts, and it's just a really great space, and I would like to see it used more. I would love to see the bell come back into the tower and the clock working again, and hopefully that's what we'll see in the near future.
Meeting House is in the midst of a program to restore and replace the clock up in the tower, way up there. And we're having a good response from the community at sending us funding to help that out. We're about halfway toward our goal. It's going to be a $50,000 project. So if anyone has got an inclination to help us to restore the almost 100-year-old clock that would be up there, and the 3 clock dials, now is a great time to send a check to the Readfield Union Meeting House. We'd really appreciate it. And we'll make the bell ring again. Thanks very much.